It's Paul with LSP Data and LSP Leads. In this video, I want to continue talking to you about finding roofing leads. So again, something I've been working on for a couple of months now, and I'm really excited. But what I wanted to tell you is that because we've always focused on niche data, right? I wanted to give you a bit of a walkthrough on how I was able to identify, opportunities. But in this specific example, I wanted to show you past data. This specific one would be in Florida, in the state of Florida. So going through Miami, Tampa, St. Petersburg, right? And just want to give you a little bit of context on how we're going to help you continue finding local leads for your specific area, right? So in this case, what we're doing is tailoring each city, right? So in the platform, you'll eventually have access to a couple of cities, right? We want to include all major cities. Right now, Florida is a great one, but the reason why you're able to come in here and have these leads is because we've applied different sort of logic to all of them, right? And what I wanted to show you is just kind of the process that I went through to identify this, right? So what we did in general is, like I mentioned, we have this data for many years, right? So think of real estate data, code violation complaints, permit information, contractor information, right? So what does that mean? Well, for a lot of times we have specific information about the type of jobs, right? So if X contractor in Tampa, Florida has worked on this type of properties, right? And how much they've declared that the job costs, right? When they're getting the permit. So all that information to say that I was able to identify sort of the slightly differences in each city, because not all cities sort of operate the same way. If we're talking about a city in Florida versus a city in Georgia versus one in Texas, right? But again, I just wanted to walk you through sort of a quick use case here, right? So if I open any of them, basically those are past historical data with code violation data from us, and also past a lot of things, right? Think of roofing age, property types, property roofing at times as well, the type of roofing I should say, and contractor information with permits and code violation, which I already mentioned. But anyways, what I want to show you is this. It's as simple as this, right? Show me specific, let's say, patterns observed for these past roofing jobs throughout these three cities, but most importantly, flag the major differences for each one city. So anyways, what I'm trying to say here, what I'm trying to prove is that we can't fit just, kind of one blanket for all cities, right? So for me, I always want to provide value to you as a customer, right? And part of it is sitting down and understanding your market. And like I said, I've had a few folks that were early adopters, and I'm getting a lot of feedback and we're sorting a lot of things out, right? So now we're in a very good state, or they're in a good state. But I also wanted to show you a quick one where I'm asking, same report for Miami. I wanted to just show you a quick, it's a really nice way of creating a slide with, this is Gemini. But I wanted to show you, like as you can see here, this is residential properties from 2023 to 2026. All I did was attach that report. And that report, obviously, it takes time to put together, right? That is where my bread and butter comes, right? Of being able to generate those more complex, what we call queries, right? And this is our bread and butter, which is data. But I wanted to just show you in a simple visual way of, what are the things that, things that stand out, or at least from the Gemini or ChatGPT point of view, right? And one of the things here as well, like I mentioned, there's different kinds of roofs, right? Like the shape, or also just the material as well. So what I'm trying to show you again is, this is how I learned of identifying what kind of data we should focus on, the type of data that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? I know a lot of you are probably subscribed to services just related to the weather, right? Where you have a really nice map, right, that shows you the weather patterns, etc., right? That's great, but I think it's very generic. And unless you're adding roofing age, type of roofing, right, complaint things, data, etc., right, or things that are very specific, then I think, in my opinion, that allows you and your team, if you're doing door knocking, right? There's a difference between just saying, okay, there was a big thunderstorm or a big hurricane or tornado, right? To saying, look, there was a specific area that was impacted. By the way, we know that those properties, have issues because it's been reported that way, right? So again, we're coming at it from multiple ways. Some of our data is more real time, right? Compared to things like code violations, which is later when a city inspector comes, they inspect it, they flag you, they put a certain type of pressure, right? And at the same time, the other things, like I mentioned in my last video, is that even the affordability aspect, right? Not just because you have a lot of code violations or there's a lot of problems going on, that doesn't mean that the homeowner is going to be willing to pay to repair, right? So in a lot of the things that I've part of the logic that we had, it is adding zip code income data as well. And that helps our formula, provide you better likelihood that someone may want to pay, right? So anyways, again, there's a lot of things. Again, just because there's code violations at time, that doesn't mean that they want to replace it, right? A lot of times too, it seems that there's a lot of unpermitted work happening. So even then, I'm thinking of additional opportunities in the future where maybe you and your cousin were trying to, do a roof repair, but you didn't ask for any permits, right? But now you actually need a proper contractor, which could be, the roofing construction company, right? And I think those are also good opportunities, in my opinion, because they eventually do need to get a permitted work, right, by professionals. So again, this is the beauty of having good data to feed it into this, AI models, just to make it a little bit easier to, basically just show you a quick representation, right? But to step back here, here we go. So now this is done. So across all three Florida markets, roofing activity strongly clusters around older house inventory, right? So this in itself, right, combining it with weather data and other things, that gets you to a higher, more targeted area, right? Asphalt shingle, mid to upper income zip codes, like I mentioned. And again, all this, I'm pretty much giving you the formula of what you could follow, right? But, there's a difference between you trying to come up with everything yourself or just using our service, right? Because again, we love data and we're learning a lot more and we're getting feedback from other customers. And again, for you, the value that we're trying to provide you is that you get exclusive, access to zip codes, right? So we're not like an Angie's List. We're not like any other service that you have where they're potentially reselling the same leads to you and maybe a couple of other people as well. So anyways, I think this is gems, if you ask me. But then here's some of the major differences as well. So for example, for Tampa, high dollar renovation, right? Premium roofing, insurance restoration, roof frequently bundled with large remodels and additions, and that's the upselling as well, which I'll touch on in a little bit. For Miami, massive volume, code violation overlap, reactive roofing, and distressed property targeting, right? So in this case, right, because also there's differences in code violations, right? I know I'm very familiar with the Houston market, but also for somewhere like Austin, Texas, where you're given 60 days to address that, right? Miami, maybe, I think it's also, they enforce it quite a bit as well. So for Miami, we're also applying a higher criteria when it comes to code violations that need to be addressed, right? When it comes to St. Petersburg, aging home, right? Predictable, re-roof because of weather patterns in a yearly basis. Think of hurricanes or thunderstorms, right? Extremely old housing stock with standardized shingle re-roofs, right? So for those, I mean, for St. Petersburg, could easily just pull a list of property data with older house builds, and you probably get a pretty good results based on that, right? So anyways, Tampa, right? Highest value roofing, medium roofing is about 25,000, right? Some of them exceed 100 because some of them are luxury or commercial. Tampa roofing is tied to remodeling activity, right? And then again, Tampa also towards higher income suburban owners. Again, obviously, unless you're dealing with insurance, a lot of times some of those folks in suburbia may be able to afford the roofing jobs as well, right? And then I'm gonna, again, just to cut it a bit short, the point of showing you this is that when I was putting this data together initially, obviously, if you don't come from a roofing background, right, and you're not familiar with each individual market, you may try to apply the same logic for everything, right? And I think that's the biggest thing with a lot of companies that you may use, even commercial ones, is that they're not taking the time to fully understand sort of those nuances, right? And they're just going to apply a blanket for everything. So what are they going to give you? Okay, some cool animations about weather patterns, etc., right? And they're just going to give you the entire city of Jacksonville, right? And again, if that works for you, great. But for us, we want to provide you more true positive, right? Like I said, I'm going to keep sort of hounding at this. We identify homeowners who already need a roof, right? And that's not to say that they need an entire roof, but that there is already something happening, right? There's leakages, there's a tarp on the roof, there's violations, there's multiple complaints, right? They've done unpermitted work, whatever it may be, right? And again, for a lot of times, we're also leveraging real-time data. So that way, if there is a thunderstorm going on, and this is a bit of a future feature, but what I'm trying to say is that in the future, instead of just giving you a pretty sort of, map with the weather, no, it'll be maybe you sign up, you get real-time text and that sort of thing where someone would say, hey, my roof just flew out, right? Hey, a tree fell off on top of my roof, that sort of thing. So, there's a lot of data available that we have. And again, I love talking to, customers like yourself because you also give us ideas that we can add for your specific market, right? And because you will have access to specific zip codes for yourself, basically you can kind of custom the service for your own needs and what has worked for you historically as well, right? So again, very excited about this, right? Again, some of the cities that we're currently going to cover, and we're going to expand beyond that. But and the other things as well is, I mentioned in the last video, I'm going to create a whole separate video on showing you how we're leveraging some of these AI bits as well, because I'm using a certain reasoning model that is also allowing us to identify those roofing opportunities as well. Like in this one, like I mentioned, maybe you have a roofing company or you have an overall construction company and you also offer gutter services or siding services or foundational work, right? So again, I know we're focusing on roofing, but we can also identify other work opportunities for yourself, right? So I think I'll leave it here. But again, the whole takeaway here is that as you become a customer, if you want to try it out, right? The data and the logic behind the formulas that we're coming up to identify these leads are based on past, information, historical information, right? And just as you saw some of the roofing jobs, right? For example, median roofing jobs, right? For those, let's say, for those median roofing jobs identified, what kind of property or specific work is that? So what I'm getting at here is that because we can see patterns and we can see how much a certain type of job costs. So think of, let's say if you focus on 2,500 square footage specific types of roofs, right? We can give you that more tailored information based on the zip codes. And also maybe we can also add like an estimated value or how much you can charge, right? So even in the future, it would be nice for you to have to be equipped with that information as well, and so that way you can get better quotes, right? And again, not trying to get ahead of myself, but the other things we're trying to do in the future is also being able to get you actual active leads, as in we have a cold caller that reaches out to these property owners, and if they have the information from you based on how much you want to provide the estimate, then we can already provide that estimation to that homeowner. So by the time they get to you, all you need to do or worry is focus on what's on your calendar and go do inspections, roofing inspections, and then the homeowner may already have that estimate range anyways. So yeah, that's what we're trying to help you here. So in this case, the ones that are identified in Tampa, right, 25K, right, is 2,400 square footage, right, in these areas as well, right? So again, if anything, you're getting a lot of value from this video, especially if you're in this region. This may give you an example of how much you can charge. So instead of doing, say, $7,000, $8,000 jobs, maybe you can upcharge based on the area, right? And again, that is the value of also including some of that medium income sort of information as well, and which it was eye-opening for us, right? So anyways, I hope that makes sense. And again, if you're interested I'll include a link on the video description on how maybe we can do a demo call, or if you just have any questions, let's jump on a Zoom call. You can sign up through our Calendly link, and thanks for watching.